ever. Very cool. All right, so first time I'm live on YouTube. I haven't been live in a while, period, on my social media. But one of the things that I talk to you about, those that I personally coach, by the way, my name is Coach Lynn. I am the plus size fitness motivator. I'm certified in both fitness as well as a life coach focusing on master level neuro coaching, those that I teach. And one thing that people get really frustrated about is they want to go out and they want to start working out and they have no idea where to start. And the thing that really throws them off is the fact that they'll go and do a beginner workout. And here's where the failure begins. Is they go start a workout and they're like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what to do. And so they find something online, something on Pinterest, YouTube, whatever. And because it says beginner, they think it's a good fit for them. And then they go do the workout. And this is somebody, we're talking about somebody who's approaching 40, over 40, probably struggling moving their body in general in their day-to-day work, in their day-to-day business. And the less they move, the less their brain is going to want them to move. It's going to get on board and help them move even less. And that's where the problem begins, because we just think if it's a beginner workout, then it's well suited for us. But that's not the case. And so I want to give you a little insight into the fitness industry and what it is that they think about when they create the workout to help you gain a better perspective. Here's the deal. Not all beginner workouts are going to be for you. If you are not the type of person to move your body because it's been a long period of time, maybe you've gained a lot of weight, maybe you've had an injury, who knows, any kind of life event that stops you from moving as much, the first thing that we think we need is a beginner workout and something that somebody shows all the modifications. Now, I'm formerly known as a plus size modification queen. I've helped thousands of women reach millions of people and helped make a tremendous difference in the plus size and the fitness industry, and better speaking to plus size women as athletes. And one of the things that I used to do, and if you look at my YouTube channel, I have a lot of modifications. What I learned in that process when I was teaching people modifications is that I was teaching them how to be stuck. I was teaching them what to do and how to move their body, but I wasn't teaching them to understand how they personally move their body. So it went something like this. So years ago, I decided I was going to do the Insanity workout. And if you remember Insanity, it's not a beginner's workout. And it's what I had access to. I was 375 pounds. I gained 180 pounds really rapidly. We hadn't overcome being broken homeless. We were pretty much still broken homeless at that point. So I pop in the DVD and I look at all the people on the screen. I'm like, I look nothing like them. I can't do any of the things that they're doing. And it was in that moment, in my most broken moment, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go forward. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do it my way, and whatever that looks like. And for me, because my middle was very, very large, it was difficult for me to get up and down off the ground. And so they're jumping up and down. I can barely do a knee raise. And so here's what I committed to. I committed to swaying my body side to side for 2 to 3 minutes. That was it. That was my workout at that point. At this point now, I've lost well over 100 pounds, and I help other people do the exact same thing without chasing weight loss, but instead focusing on health gains. But it was in that process that people started to notice something about modifications, and so started coming to me, asking me how they can modify their workouts. But what they were actually asking me is, hey, there's this particular movement, how would you modify it? And so because I was teaching very specific modifications, people would stop their workout and then come to me and say, hey, this particular move, how would you modify this movement? So they weren't learning how to modify or create options for themselves. I have something really fuzzy in my face, driving me crazy. They weren't learning how to modify for themselves and make the workout work for them. Instead, what they wanted is somebody to tell them what to do. And I went all in, and I would tell people exactly how to move their body and to make it work for them. And that's the problem. Is actually there are very basic movements that you need to know how to modify that you can take across the board of any workout program. So let me go back to the idea of beginner programs and beginner workouts. When they develop a workout, okay, and I was a modifier of like a badass workout. Like I wanted people to be able to see it and be like, what did I need day one at nearly 400 pounds? What I need to see? So I went back to like my insanity roots, right? Like what did I need to see on the other side of the screen? So when they create a workout, they create it with the they have a person in mind or type of person in mind. And so they create a demographic. So that person might have a name, they might have an age, they might have a look, but there's a lot of different things that come into play when creating a workout. So here's what you need to know is that workout may not necessarily be developed for you and your specific needs and where you are. And so workouts are guides, but the workout are your own. They're your workout and you learn to make it your own. The purpose is not to look like the people on the screen. They've been practicing, they've learned the choreography, they're in a completely different place. For you, it's guidance on movements you can do. So I'm gonna go back to my insanity example. When I did insanity, they were doing burpees and tuck jumps. I was swaying side to side. Yeah, but Coach Tulin, would that really help me be able to lose weight? There's the other problem. We focus so much on weight loss that we're willing to do that at any cost. Instead, what we should be focusing is on health gains, strength gains from a brain set level. So when we retrain the brain, we can retrain the body so that we can retrain the digestive system. Now that's a whole other video, but that's really where we need to be starting from. So when you look at a beginner workout, and let's say, for example, if you have a hard time getting up and down off the floor, and the beginner workout not only wants you to get up and down off the floor, they also want you to take these really tiny loops and put them around your feet at the same time. Now, if you've ever been, or if you're somebody that has excessive weight on your body, like I did when I was nearly 400 pounds, bending over was a problem. I couldn't even tie my shoes. And when I eventually got to the point that I could tie my shoes, it was like everything from my belly pulled up to through my chest into my neck. My blood pressure would raise. I felt like a pterodactyl. I didn't have the arms to reach my shoes. Okay, so that's my experience. And so now the workout is telling me to get up and down off the floor. Okay, and put something around my feet. I can't reach my feet as it is, let alone put some little dinky band around my feet. It does not mean that the workout is incorrectly classified. It was created with a specific person in mind for that level of beginner. And so that move would be far more advanced and would really challenge my mobility, and it wouldn't be something I can do. So what are your options at that point? It is your brain, it is your belief system. Much of it has been programmed into you at a very young age. So think about what people said to you around you about weight in their bodies. And then here's the kicker. It could go back 11 generations, okay? So these beliefs that you have about fitness and about yourself have basically been programmed into you. Our brain and what it knows are basically developed skill sets. So if you're like any kind of a crafter, if you like to knit or something like that, how that's a developed skill set, it's the same thing, okay? It's the same neural pathways as being created in the brain. So we have a belief system about ourselves and about fitness. I know for me, that goes way, 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 way back for me. But I remember in elementary school, it was a huge turning point for me when we had the presidential fit test. I'm 49 years old, so I don't know if you remember the presidential fit test or not, but that was a clear indicator for me that I was not good enough to do these basics, and I had to do it in front of my peers. And let's say whatever bullying that was going on before intensified, okay? So everything was pointed out about my body and everything, I was being laughed at, etc. And so that was really a turning point for me in any belief system that I was athletic at all, or that fitness in any degree was possible for me. And I carried that forward. I carried that forward through eating disorders and disordered eating, a lot of things into my early years. And I was just to give you an example, I was just talking to my husband. I just discovered pickleball. Pickleball is another one of those. I've only gone 4 times, so I'm not a pro or anything. I'm definitely a beginner. Pickleball is another one of those examples. They say, oh yeah, beginner to advanced, right? I'm like, let me see what it means for beginner. And really for pickleball, I saw all different shapes and sizes, all different skill levels, all different ages. And as I was going through the process, I'm like, this really is a sport. If somebody comes in this with the right brain set, that they could do this even with mobility challenges. So much so, my husband, who has multiple sclerosis and struggles walking, but used to play tennis in high school, he was like a huge athlete, is like, hey, you know what? There might even be a way for me to play pickleball in a way that works for him, in a way that is modified for him. So these are the kinds of things that we think about. And so one of the comments that was said, people were like, wait, how many times you play pickleball? And I said 4 times. And they're like, you're really good for only playing 4 times. Now, really good means that I can get the ball over the net, that I can return it, that I can do some fancy accidental like trick shots between my legs. It's not intentional, but anyways, take that with a grain of salt. But it was, my ability exceeded what most people, if it was their 4th session, would be, if that makes sense. But I told my husband, I'm like, you know, what's really sad, and it's why I love coaching people through this process, is that I was absolutely an athlete in my youth, but my brain set was such, and my programming was such, and my experiences were such that it just, everything that I did reaffirmed or deepened that identity that I had of myself, that I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't strong enough, that I wasn't athletic enough, that there was nothing that was right about me. And so every step that I took honored that programming, and it just like solidified it. And it just made it stronger and stronger and stronger in me, that I didn't know any different. Okay. So when I said it's really sad that if I had someone like myself, if I had the belief systems that I have now and the things that I coach other people, I would have had a much different experience in my youth. I have women that I coach that have small kids that have, like, literally, I feel like I've been a part of the community that helped raise them. And these kids, because of the changes that are happening to their mothers, and their kids are hearing these coaching conversations that we're having, that their kids are growing up to be far more confident individuals. One of the girls that I coach, unfortunately, her daughter was in one of the most recent things that happened at the schools where people were unalived. I guess I can't say all that kind of stuff on social media. And I'm always really, really grateful for all that she experienced, and for the strong level of confidence that strong sense of self that she has in watching her mother bounce back. Okay, because her mother was learning to retrain herself and her beliefs, that this trickled down into her kids. And we see this all the time through the coaching. So they're having a different exposure. They're having a different experience. Dare I say, breaking generational cycles. And so what these kids are really learning is they're learning how to continue to break those generational cycles, which is also very, very powerful. So going back to beginner workouts, the bottom line is you don't necessarily need a beginner workout. You don't need, and this is why I don't put modification workouts out there. You don't need a modified workout. Your determination for the type of workout that you need, this is what usually people will send to me. I am X years old, I weigh this much, and I have these particular ailments, rheumatoid arthritis, PCOS. I'm a former national spokesman for the largest PCOS organization. Arthritis, bursitis, plantar fasciitis, 2 things that I have. Whatever, a list. What kind of a workout can I do? And I'm like, we're leading with the wrong thing. We are not our age, the number on the scale or on our pants, and our diagnoses. While those can sort of play a role, that's not our starting point. That's not the starting point to figure out the right workout for you. And I was very much behind, as a catalyst behind the plus size fitness movement that you see online today, I very much am a believer of modifications. Like, I literally fought for it, for like what you're seeing going on right now with different fitness outlets and things like that. I'm very proud to have been that trailblazer, but there was a mistake that was made that we learned. It's like action creates clarity. And as I got clear on it, what we're doing is, while we're making fitness more accessible, we're also further confirming that identity that people have that think that, oh, I have to have a modified workout. Modified workouts are exercises all their own. Okay, they are exercises. You will see athletes do modifications. Every single one of them an exercise. Some of them are progressions. One is not better than the other or more meaningful than the other, like a full-fledged burpee versus walking through, like a burpee's made up of like 10 different exercises, right? You can do like a burpee workout and never do a burpee, but do the exercises that align or that are actually a part of a burpee. Like think about it for a second. What exercises are part of a burpee? And you might say, oh, well, a push-up. Well, you do a push-up on the wall. So it's our perspective on things, our reasons for getting into things. So when we're chasing weight loss, the goal is that people want to burn as many calories and leave themselves in a pile on the floor feeling miserable. Nobody wants to show up for miserable, so we tend to fall off because it goes against our programming. Our programming in our brain says we're not the type of people that move, and also the kind of movements we're doing that's so not good for our body that it'll do everything it possibly can to get us to quit this misery. And what do we end up thinking? We lack motivation, we suck, and we're stuck. It is not. It is absolutely not. Okay? So modifications and those kinds of exercise and workouts are great bits of information to help you, yes, get moving, but just because you see those workouts doesn't mean that's where you're stuck. They give you the ability to learn how to work with your body, to understand your body, to move through the motions. But here's the thing. When you learn some basic fundamental modifications, you can take that knowledge to any workout. So when you lead with, I need a beginner workout because I need to lose weight, you're not taking consideration how you want to feel. Instead, do something that looks like fun, that aligns with you. Now, one caveat about the whole thing about looking fun. If you're not the type of person to move and movement is a struggle for whatever reason it is, whether you're out of practice of it or there's a physical reason or there's an emotional reason or mental reason that's attached to it, movement isn't fun. Let me say that again. If you're not the type of person to move, any kind of movement is not going to be fun because we don't see it as fun because we're not actually moving our body on a regular basis. So there's kind of a little gap there we got to bridge. If you are past that and you're like, okay, I want to do something that's fun. For me recently, and I would say probably for the past 6 months or so, I've been searching for something that would align with how I wanted to feel. And one of the things was I want it to be big body movements. I would prefer for it to be outside, and I want it to make me laugh and giggle in the process. So yoga was out for that. That doesn't align. I really wanted to go back to rock climbing, the kind where they put the like pulley things. I don't even know what it's called. Go back and do that, but that was a little further away right now. My husband has had some setbacks with multiple sclerosis, so he's come a long, long way. He's doing really great. Please don't send me any unsolicited advice or put it in the comments. I will not read it. I will delete it. I will block it. I didn't ask for it. Okay, thank you. And so I was searching for something that was close enough home, that was easily accessible, and that would align with how I wanted to feel. I wanted to feel exciting. I wanted to have moments of celebration, and I wanted it to be full body. Boxing wasn't doing it for me anymore. I boxed for 10 years in the ring, or I spent some of those 10 years in the ring. I tried jiu-jitsu. I had some issues that came up with my lower back that wasn't aligned with. So somebody at my gym had mentioned they do pickleball, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've always wanted to try that. I knew nothing about pickleball. I just knew there was a paddle, a wiffle ball, and a net, and it was something that supposedly beginners could do. So I went and tried it, and I fell in love. It marked off everything that I wanted to feel and I wanted to experience. Therefore, it didn't matter if I knew how to do it. I knew that it was a skill set and that I could find a way to learn it and get additional help or ask questions or utilize Google or YouTube to learn more about the sport to help me move through the process. But it was more important that it aligned with how I wanted to feel. When we do exercises or movements that align with how we want to feel, we're going to continue to show up. Now, if you are somebody that struggles with emotional eating, as an example, like I did, or those that I coach, we tend to stuff down all the things that we feel. And so it's even difficult to find feeling words. Okay. So what we're looking for is ideally, if you've gone through some coaching and really were able to, or therapy, and were able to really tap into how it is that you want to feel, I'll give you an example, some common words that people use that I personally coach. They want freedom. Um, they want energy, and they want happiness. Those are three that come up pretty often. Nowhere in there is it, I want to be smaller, I want to feel weaker, I want to feel miserable. Okay. At no point is any of that brought up. And so identifying with something that feels good to you versus that reinforces that miserable feeling, we're not going to show up for hard and miserable. We're going to show up for things that like fire off the brain chemicals. And when it starts firing off the brain chemicals, guess what? Our brains say, I want more of that. I want to seek more of that. And so that's what pickleball did for me. So it was really interesting going and doing pickleball for me as a beginner. It actually shifted my strength training routine because my strength training routine has played an enormous role in my ability to play pickleball. So now I'm like, okay, how can I be safer, stronger, more effective on the pickleball court? And how can I shift my workouts to do that? That comes from knowledge and experience and messy action and understanding movement for my body where I am right now in the season that I'm in. So the season I'm in right now is in menopause. I'm on hormone replacement therapy. I started that very beginning of July. It's been a process. I like the way I feel, but there was a very quick, significant gain on it. And so I'm like, you know what? Let's just give it a year for my body to get adjusted to it and get used to it, and make sure this is the right path for me, which I do feel that it is. And I can deal with that stuff later. I'm just going to continue to focus on how I want to feel. I want to feel strong. I want to feel happy. I want to feel free. I want to feel mobile. I want higher energy. So that's where I'm coming from. Okay. So when I go back to this conversation about beginner workouts, if you find that you are still struggling with beginner workouts, ask yourself what your intention is. Why are you doing the beginner workout? What is your brain making these particular exercises that you can't do? What is it making it mean? And the reason why I ask you, what is your brain making it mean? Because it takes it outside of you and it helps you just take a moment and be like, why do I need to do that exercise on the floor? Because it's working the core, here's some standing options that I can use, which I actually have on my YouTube channel. Oh, they're doing squats. I'm not comfortable doing that. Oh, here's some examples of how I can make the squats work for me. They don't have to be booty to grass, okay? So beginner workouts are designed with a particular demographic, and you might not actually be that demographic, and that's okay because the workouts are a guide, and you can make any workout work out for you if you have a better understanding of what ultimately it is that you want to accomplish and how it is that you want to feel, and not reinforce the old stories that we have in our brain about it. Okay. So the next time you see a beginner workout and you can't do it as a particular exercise, don't quit on yourself. Ask yourself some deeper questions. What is it ultimately you're trying to accomplish? Because what you think lives in the weight loss number, you actually are going to learn through me to start from working from that place. Right? So it's not when I hit the destination that I'll feel that way. You actually start from that place. So that's a whole other video. But I hope that was helpful for you to give you a little more perspective on beginner workouts and why we can get frustrated. If you're the type of person that quits and that's part of your programming, and again, that's a learned skill set, much like knitting, okay? You can learn to knit. We learn to have these relationships with fitness, and then we continue on paths and finding other workouts that continue to reinforce this negative relationship we have with fitness. I know this works because I've coached thousands of women personally through this process and changed their perspective and relationships with themselves, fitness, and nutrition without deprivation, without dieting, without miserable workouts, first with retraining the brain. What many of us are doing is we're focusing on the 2 to 4% of our day, which is like a half hour to an hour workout. What we really need to pour into is the 96 to 98% of our day, which is everything outside of that. So if your workouts aren't working out for you, you're probably coming from a perspective that has never worked, which is chasing weight loss. There's a whole other way to do it. And remember that workouts are they're a guide, and you can make them work for you. Don't forget that when they were doing burpees and insanity and tuck jumps, that I was swaying side to side. And I made a decision that day to celebrate what I accomplished and not have expectations that I full-fledged into experiences. The more that I showed up with messy action, the more experiences I had, the greater clarity that I got, and the drastic changes that I've made to my health in the process. I hope this was helpful to you. I know there's not a lot of you guys on here live, but if you have, it's the first time I've gone live on YouTube. But if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. This is a safe, supportive environment. If any negative posts or anything like that are put up, I delete them. I don't want that in my life. I certainly don't want that in your life. I run lots of different communities of different sizes, and we don't allow negativity. We just don't need that. So this is a little bit of information on beginner workouts. I hope that you found it helpful, and I'll be back soon. But the problem I have right now is I don't know how to end this. Let's see. Let me press some buttons and hopefully it'll let me end it. Maybe this will end it. Oh yeah. Are you sure you want to stop streaming now? Yeah, I do.